this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Con Air, the 1997 action film that was produced by Jerry Bruckheimer and definitely feels like it. I mean, this movie is balls to the wall when it comes to the action. It has some very distinctive shots that you'll recognize from other Bruckheimer films, and it has a very similar feel where it's all about these gorgeous shots and just over the top action and machismo, and it definitely has a feel of a Bruckheimer film, which to me can be a positive sometimes, not so much, but for me this is definitely one of my favorite action movies from the late 90s. And do not get me wrong, this is a ludicrous movie. I mean, so over the top. Everybody's just playing things absolutely to the nine. Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Caging it up. He's got a very over the top performance in this. He has a southern accent that is inconsistent and just spread on with just so much gusto. I mean, he's balls to the wall in every regard in this film, just like everything pretty much is. And he perfectly fits this movie. He's the perfect lead for this movie, because if there was anybody who was at all understated in this film, we just would not work, because there is nothing about this movie that is understated. Even when things are trying to be subtle, where they're trying to tell this kind of love story or the bond between two characters that you're supposed to, I mean, it is so hammy and over the top that if anybody gave a guarded performance, it just would not have worked, with the exception of one character who actually is guarded, and it works to perfection because he's the only character that shouldn't be. But more on that later. Like I said, Nicolas Cage is the lead of this film, and the whole story of this film is that he's this I believe Marine. Anyway, so he's part of the military, and he's a killing machine, and he's been trained to know how to kill. And one night he gets into a bar fight defending the woman he loves, and things get out of control, and he kills the guy who he's fighting, and as a result he gets sent to prison for several years, and he never meets his daughter that the woman of his dreams was pregnant with at the time that he gets sent away. And then finally he gets the news that he's getting out, but in order to get out he has to be transported across the country in an airplane with a number of other convicts. And it turns out, as the movie progresses, that for whatever reason the judicial system has decided that they're going to put a bunch of the deadliest and worst convicts all together on the same plane. And of course things go awry. They take control of the plane. That's why it's called Con Air. And there's one of the convicts knows how to fly, and they're killing all the law enforcement agents on board. And you have basically Nicolas Cage is the one man who's there who can stand up against them. And there are other convicts on the plane that are better people, but they don't have the machismo and the abilities of Nicolas Cage to hold their own. And the main villain of this movie is John Malkovich. He's the leader of the group of prisoners, and he's Cyrus the Virus, and he's supposed to be this guy who's able to manipulate everybody. And he again, it's one of the largest performances of his career, because he usually is a very understated gentleman. I mean, he gives some over the top performances as well, but usually when they fit the character. I mean, it's not like he has a history of histrionics. See what I did there? But he's absolutely great. He's absolutely chewing the scenery in this film, which he totally needed to in order for the film to work. And he's absolutely hateable in this movie. He wants to destroy and kill, and even when things are at the point where he knows he's not, his original plan has gone awry, instead of giving up and going, but he opts for absolute destruction, which is one of the more memorable moments of this film. And then you have John Cusack, who is considered the third lead, which I always thought was kind of puzzling. He's basically like a FBI, or he's a law enforcement agent. He's the guy who's trying to get control of things from the ground, and he communicates back and forth with Nicolas Cage. But to me, he's kind of a throwaway character. He reminds me a lot of the guy in Die Hard, where he's on the ground and kind of talking him through stuff. The guy who was Carl Winslow in Family Matters. I mean, he is a memorable part of this film for sure, but I would not have put him at the same level as the other two actors whatsoever, even though screen time wise he might be fairly close. But I don't know, his character just is pretty uninteresting to me. When he shows up, it's kind of mental checkout time. But like I said before, there is a character that is actually remarkably understated, and he's played by Steve Buscemi, and it's hilarious because when he shows up, he's kind of in the Hannibal Lecter mold, where they're carting him onto the plane with like a facial mask that's attached to him, and everybody's like, oh. that guy, where he's like the super deadly creep guy, and you find out that he has a history of maybe not no cool actions towards children and all this stuff. But as the film progresses, when they finally let him out, he's this very kind of meek and understated character, and he eventually ends up getting on the ground, and you see him where he goes and he talks to a little girl, and throughout the entire movie you're like, oh no. For that, as the film progresses, it turns out maybe not so much. Oh no. But I mean, the fact that his character is the only one that seems to be, you know, kind of mild throughout the entire thing works to absolute perfection, because he's set up to be the character that you're supposed to be most afraid of. So to completely subvert your expectations like that, I thought was one of the smarter moments in this entire movie. And there are a number of notable actors that play other inmates. I mean, Vin Graves shows up, and he's awesome because he's such a hulking man, and he's so intimidating. And there are moments where he's like, there's an image that I'm gonna be putting up in the thing where he's got a gun, and he's holding it up, and just looking at how like jacked his arms are, it's like, ooh, you don't want to mess with that guy. So he's great. And you have Danny Trejo shows up, and I mean, he was an actual prisoner in real life, and he's very, very capable of giving off that total like badass, you don't want to mess with me kind of vibe. And so his performance totally works. He's a very great addition to the cast of this film. Then you have the guy who was played Bubba Gump, or Bubba. Not Bubba, but not Bubba Gump, but Bubba. In Forrest Gump, he shows up, and he's the only friend of Nicolas Cage's on the plane. So he's supposed to be the guy that you're supposed to root for as well. And he does a pretty good job in this movie as well. I mean, he's played lots of other roles as well, don't get me wrong, but most people will probably know him best as Bubba from Forrest Gump. But then the actor, when he shows up, you're like, ha ha, Dave Chappelle's in this movie, and he's very entertaining. And when you find out what ends up happening to the character, it's like, oh crap. But his involvement is awesome. And the guy who ends up being the pilot, he's very entertaining as well. I don't know, I think his name's like MC Gainley or something like that. But my favorite part of his character, beyond the fact that he's a pilot, is the fact that they call him Swamp Thing. And like I said before, this movie has a very over-the-top moment at the end where the plane actually flies into Vegas, takes out the hard rock, the guitar, and crashes on the strip, which is great. But the most over-the-top, ridiculous moment in this entire movie is there is a runner throughout where Nicolas Cage is obsessed with getting back to his daughter and giving her this bunny, this stuffed animal that he's been holding on to her. And there's a moment where John Malkovich's character holds a gun up to the bunny to get him to do what he wants, and it's so amazing. It's such a perfect encapsulation of the spirit of this film. I have a lot of fun with this movie. I mean, dear Lord, what a flick. If you have not seen it, and you're an action film, or you're a fan of the ludicrous side of movies, check it out. I think it's a lot of fun. If you have seen it, let me know in the comment section below what you think. Other than that, please like this video, share this video, let other people know that this video exists so they come check it out and let me know what they think, which would be awesome because I love talking to people about movies. And speaking of which, if you are one of those new people or you just haven't done it yet, please hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. It would absolutely mean the world to me because I love talking to people about movies. Other than that, have yourself a good day.